welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. I'll be your astrologer this week. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm back at it with yet another video, and I'm continuing my newest series where we are taking a look into the future. I am unpacking the next 2 weeks throughout my weekly videos how these ingresses of outer planets are going to be impacting the collective as well as the 12 rising signs. This is a preview of Saturn entering into the sign of Aries. If you guys like this video, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the subscribe button below. Make sure you click the bell button so you're alerted as to when I have new videos on the channel. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. The truth is, guys, the future is looking bright. We definitely want to be looking ahead to see these major trends in 2025. If you have not already seen my Neptune and Aries video, check that out. Obviously, there's a lot of energy going through Aries, so I'm unpacking this a little bit separately and looking specifically at Saturn in Aries. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and let me know in the comment section below, where is Saturn transiting in your chart? What house is Aries? And what new responsibility are you planning on taking on? We're getting a little bit of like a preview of that with the solar eclipse in Aries that's coming up in March, a Mercury and a Venus retrograde. And truth be told, the North Node has been in Aries for the better part of the last 2 years. So we are already prepped and primed for this transit. Let me know where you're taking things a little bit more seriously. And if you're having any particular Saturn transits, if you were born with Saturn in Aries, you're getting ready to experience a Saturn return. So I'll be putting up a video for that as well. All right, so we are going to be diving into the gritty transit of Saturn in the sign of Aries. This is a placement where discipline is really clashing with the daring vibes of this sign, and this is where structure is meeting spontaneity. Buckle up, because this is a transit that does not mess around, and we're going to be unpacking today the themes of Saturn in the sign, the dignity, and how this is going to be shaking everything up personally as well as collectively. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what happens when dreamy Neptune joins the party in Aries. Plus, we'll explore how this is going to be impacting leadership roles, industries, world events, and how to thrive under this cosmic combo. So if you guys are ready, let's get going. I actually wanted to do a little bit of like an intro for this before I even get into all the factual information, because honestly, Aries energy is very rapid fire. It's meant to be kind of entrepreneurial. It's meant to be pioneering. It's meant to be passionate and brave, and it just comes at you very quickly. I am creating a webinar that's going to be very specific to this transit. We've got a little bit of time before we get to the end of May when Saturn enters into this sign. But I've been working on this, and I'm like really proud of it because I think it's going to be a really great webinar for you guys. So make sure you're subscribed to my newsletter if you haven't already, on my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com, so you're on the up and up when this comes out. But essentially, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of like a taste of what this webinar is going to have inside of it. For me, I sat down and I've actually been creating a collective of quotes and lists and notes and just epiphanies that I've been having throughout this last couple of months while we had the North Node in Aries, to put this together for you guys, because I feel like we really need to feel inspired. We need to feel like we have a vision and a plan with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And I imagine this is kind of like a wild, untamed ride, okay? That's what this transit is going to be like. It's obviously not always going to be a safe stroll to the finish line. One of my favorite quotes was by Hunter S. Thompson. He said it best: "Skid in broadside, worn out, shouting, wow, what a ride." That's the fever dream of Saturn and Neptune in Aries. A cosmic, kind of collision of grit as well as vision. Obviously, it's hitting us early. We're starting to feel Neptune in this sign at the end of March. And then in May of 2025, we're going to see Saturn join. And Saturn is the taskmaster, right? And as he meets with Neptune, the dreamer, this is in Aries' bold arena. So it's really time to really focus on where we are steering our ship. Now, Saturn in Aries is going to demand that we know our fixed point. This is where we stand. So you can really charge towards where you're going. And I think Neptune is going to be whispering dreams, but be aware that the fog can be kind of hiding the truth. So this is really about embodying our vision, letting our actions define ourselves, not our illusions. And where we've been imprisoned with false freedoms like fake health, shallow faith, and now is the moment to break the dams and really destroy the lies that we've been clinging onto, the falsities that we've been telling ourselves. We're going to find that throughout this transit that victim culture is dead. It's dying. Cancel culture is dead. It's gone. We are now moving back to something that is going to be focused on merit. There's no barriers, just your fire. Another quote that I really found inspiring that reminded me of Saturn in the sign of Aries was a quote by Albert Camus. He said, "In the midst of winter, I found that there was within me an invincible summer." Well, we know that Aries is heat, it's fire. Saturn is cold, it's boundaries, it's lonely. And in the midst of what can feel like a long winter, we can actually rise up. We can be reborn. Saturn in Aries is really testing that strength. It's about facing problems head on like the ram. And it's not about having ostrich vibes. I feel like that has been, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. It's really pushing us to dare to dream together, right? And this is going to start on an individual level. And similar to, past historical transits, when we've seen these two come together, like in the 1700s, we saw wars, but also awakenings. This is about pioneering with purpose. In order to do that, we have to tackle some of our anxieties, some of our fears, and where we've been holding ourselves back. So we have to stop saying, I have anxiety, right? We have to detach from that because it's not your anxiety, it's a signal. You want to be replacing that with saying, I feel anxious about. We want to name it, face it, and deal with it head on because doubt is the real enemy. So when we have Saturn in Aries, we are taking charge. Saturn is going to be building some kind of stamina, and while Neptune is going to be there, it helps fuel the faith. We have to remind ourselves that all lights that turn off can be switched back on, and we can truly come back from anything, that there is a power within us, and it starts right here and right now. So with Saturn in Aries from this spring until April of 2028, we have 2.5 years to destroy dams, ignite dreams, and prove what's invincible in us. No more self-deception. We have to be brave. And this is all about making this ride throughout this transit legendary and starting something brand new. Now let's talk a little bit about Saturn and Aries. Okay, so first off, what is the deal with Saturn in this sign? Well, in astrology, Saturn, like all other planets, have dignity. So certain planets are going to behave better in certain signs. And this is kind of representing the planet's strength or comfort level. So it depends on what sign that it's in. Obviously, we know Saturn is traditionally associated both with Aquarius as well as Capricorn. So this is where it's at home and it feels a little bit more structured and focused. So when we put it in the sign of Aries, it's in its fall. So this basically means that it's not exactly enjoying its stay here. Obviously, Aries is ruled by Mars and it's all about action and impulse. So it has this me first energy, while Saturn is more of like a stern teacher who loves rules and practice and patience and like the long-term grind. So this is where we're going to be basically tested. And I always like picture like a drill sergeant, trying to tame a wild stallion. It sounds kind of like awkward, but very potent, I think, with this particular combination. And the clash is why Saturn and Aries really asks us to focus through growth with friction. Okay, so there's going to be conflict, there's going to be, things we're combating, there's going to be friction, but it's teaching us discipline, and it's also teaching us courage in ways that we feel like can almost be like a cosmic boot camp. So I know that this is early. You guys are going to be watching this sometime end of February, early March, but Saturn is now getting up into the degrees which we're going to feel the effects as it's getting ready to come into Aries. That factored in with eclipses and retrogrades is really setting the stage in March and April to get prepared for this particular transit. Now, as you guys see on the screen, it won't be until May 24th, 2025 that Saturn enters this sign. So this is when Saturn is moving into Aries. We will see it here for a brief period of time. Saturn will only stay here until it retrogrades back into Pisces in September of 2025. So we've got a couple of months to feel the vibes collectively. And then Saturn will return and come back into Aries in February of 2026, where around mid-February, we will see the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries cardinal point. This is going to be a turning point for humanity, and I'm definitely working on some videos for that, but we got some time. And we will see Saturn stay in Aries until spring of 2028 in April before it moves into the sign of Taurus. So Saturn's full journey through Aries is going to be several years long. We're going to see it obviously dip back into Pisces with its retrograde motion this year. And I think this is about re-evaluating what needs to come to a close, what needs to end, where we need to have a little bit more solid footing, I think, in our faith. And then it's going to proceed onward for several years into 2026, 2027, 2028. Now, a Saturn transit is roughly about 2.5 years. It will spend about 2.5 years in Aries, which is typical, though the retrograde can make it feel like a two-part story. So 2025 is like we get a brief glimpse of what the future holds for all of us, and also in the area of Aries in our chart. And then we're going to kind of, reevaluate, kind of, reassess and kind of integrate what new things we have started. Now, if you have anything from about 0 to, let's say, 2 or 3 degrees of Aries, you're going to be in the direct line of impact, as Saturn is going to get up to 1 degree this year. So we're going to get just a sneak preview of what it's going to feel like, and then we're going to integrate. Now, the good news is, there is good news. We have had eclipses since 2023 in the sign of Aries. And the reason being is during that time, 2023, 2024, we saw the North Node in Aries. So we were already feeling with the eclipses that we were being called to kind of step up into something new. We have also seen Chiron in Aries throughout this period. So we've certainly taken, I think, a bit of like a beating and become more aware of our personal wounds, and where hiding out, sticking our head in the sand and not taking action has actually done ourselves a bit of a disservice. So now with Saturn going into Aries this spring, we get a chance to work out the boundaries and I think reassess and also redefine who we are, what we stand for, what our personal goals are, and totally rework something about our identities. So the themes connected with this obviously are going to be about mastering Saturn, self-assertion, Aries. And we're doing this with responsibility. It's like the universe saying to us, hey, if you want to lead, prove you can handle the weight. Personally, I feel like this is going to be like a tug of war between our ambitions versus our personal limits. We are definitely going to feel driven to start things, new projects collectively. I think this is also going to be amazing for, initiating new personal projects or personal careers. But Saturn is going to slam the brakes on it a little bit, demanding us to build stamina as well as strategy. So I do think that this can be very pioneering, and I want you guys to be really looking for some of these bold reforms that are going to be tempered by hard-earned lessons. That is the theme of Saturn. And it's not just go, go, go. It's strategize, be smart, pace yourself, take your time, right? It's not going to be, a sprint. It is going to be a long distance race. So we have to really kind of stretch. We have to take our time. We have to train before we get to that finish line. Now, I think leadership under Saturn and Aries is getting a serious makeover. Aries obviously loves to charge ahead, but Saturn really insists on accountability, and personal accountability, holding ourselves accountable, as well as leaders, is going to be a big theme with this transit. I do believe that this is going to be breeding leaders who aren't just fearless, but forged. So think warriors who have really learned when to swing the sword and when to kind of take a step back. It's all about reckless charisma. It's less about reckless charisma and more about earned authority. So when we think about military, right, we see these, kind of decorated war veterans and people who have all of the markers and all of the badges and everything that they have earned being in combat. So we're going to be really looking at, okay, what experience do we have? How can we learn? And how can we learn to be more so battle-born? We're also going to find that industries tied to Aries, so military, sports, tech innovation, entrepreneurship, This is all going to be feeling the heat. Now, while Saturn might slow down some startups and demand tighter regulations in defense sectors, it may also be pushing athletes to rethink endurance over flash. Anything requiring guts and grit is really going to get a reality check. I can tell you that for sure. And for world events, Saturn in Aries historically stirs up bold moves with very lasting consequences. We have seen in previous years, Saturn went through Aries in the 90s, and obviously that was colorful for a whole string of wars and kind of tension that was going on in various parts of the world. But if we go back another cycle and we think about what was happening in the 1960s from 67 to 69, we saw a lot of things going on. The 6-Day War, we saw the anti-war protests peaking, and we also saw the space race heating up between the United States and other nations. So we want to think of the Apollo missions that took place. It's a vibe of like, we're doing this and we're going to do it now, but we know it's going to cost us. So conflicts do flare up, identities shift, and obviously society will wrestle a little bit with independence versus structure. Expect these similar themes over the next couple of years. Global power plays, pioneering tech leaps, as well as cultural clashes over our independence. Well, there's a little bit of a twist with this one though, right? So you guys saw the Neptune video, but watching the Saturn-Neptune cycle kind of happen at the same time for the first time since the late 80s, early 90s adds a little bit of like a wild flair. This is rare. So Saturn's reality meeting with Neptune's dreams is obviously taking place in like a very fiery kind of like boxing ring. Historically, the last time we saw Saturn and Neptune in the same sign was in the early 1700s. This was 1702 to 1703. We saw wars like the Spanish Succession take off, empires shifted. We also saw spiritual ideals clash really hard with, anything that was more pragmatic. And it symbolizes a bit of like a paradox because we're building dreams into reality or watching illusions crumble under pressure. So in Aries, it's about visionary action. Think revolutions with a cause or leaders really, chasing utopias that demand major sacrifice for the collective. This combo is not common, and Saturn takes 29 to 30 years to circle the entire zodiac, while Neptune takes 165 years. So their conjunctions shift every single time that they happen per sign. So the last one was in Capricorn. That was more about kind of control, top-down structures, government. This time in Aries, we are all going to be feeling the heat. It's about how it's going to be impacting individuals, making it a once-in-a-lifetime spark. Now, this will happen in 2026, like I said, at 0-degree Aries point, and I feel like this is a significant turning point for humanity. The first time in 2,500 years, we see the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees, and it's the dawn of a new era. Now, Saturn alone, like I said, lasts about 2.5 years in a transit, so it's going to give us plenty of time to kind of feel the weight and the effects of some of the lessons. And I feel like to best work with it, we have to embrace the tension. We have to not just get out of our comfort zone, but we have to push ourselves to our limits a little bit. So think of like when you're working out and you're really pushing yourself and there's some soreness, but the more that you're doing it, the more that you're showing up, the stronger, the more confident, the more, I think, excited and also capable you feel. That's going to be Saturn and Aries in a nutshell. It's asking us to really focus on the slow burn, I think, of inspiration and discipline, and also to act boldly, but plan wisely. So we might start that passion project, but we're mapping the steps. We're giving ourselves time to let it kind of unfold. Now, personally, I feel like this is going to build confidence through effort. It's about not taking shortcuts, not taking the easy way out. And collectively, it's going to be about pioneering with purpose. And I think it's going to be about blending sustainability and innovation over reckless gambles. We may have to meditate on our fears of failure. I think, Saturn really loves shadow work. And with Neptune, yes, we want to dream big, but we have to stay grounded. So it's going to test our visions against reality, so we're not just floating away. Now, what does this mean for the 12 rising signs? I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of what to be watching for as you're starting to see Saturn and Neptune, coming together and some of these retrogrades and things taking place. Obviously, the astrology of March and April is a bit of a prelude before Saturn shows up. So we're going to take a look at the 12 rising signs right now. I'm going to show you guys what this looks like and give you a little bit of feedback as to what you want to be watching for throughout this transit. I use the Western whole sign system for my presentations, so I really recommend listening to your rising sign first, as that's going to show you exactly which house Saturn is going to be testing you. You can also listen to your sun sign and your moon sign to get more insight of how it impacts you personally, your career, as well as your home and your family. If you're using Placidus, that's fine. You're going to want to look at where 0 to about 2 degrees of Aries is in your chart. You may have to listen to more than one rising sign. Equally, I feel like this is something that, we're just taking a look at. As you guys know, I put videos out, throughout the week. And as we get closer to May, we're going to do a little bit of like a deeper dive. But I wanted to plant this seed now to let you guys know what you're working towards, where you're going to create the boundary, where you're going to set the line, where you're going to make the new goal or set the new standard for yourself. So you don't need to worry about this quite yet. Everything that's kind of leading up to this point in May, I think, is about kind of making us more so aware of where we need to really kind of mature and show up. This is most significant for Aries placements, sun, moon, and rising, the first 2 or 3 degrees. But equally, if you happen to be a Saturn ruled chart, so if you're an Aquarius rising, if you're a Capricorn rising, your chart ruler is on the move. So you're going to be feeling this, I think, a little bit strongly as well. And if you have any personal planets or a node or an angle around 0 to 2 or 3 degrees of Aries, you're going to be feeling this effect as well. All right, so let's take a look and let's see what this means for my Aries and Aries risings. All right, Aries, well, I feel like you guys are just kind of like the stars of the show right now. You and Pisces. Pisces is giving you a little bit of a pass, I think, as we're getting into the summer of 2025, where finally all these planets move out of their sign and they move into your sign. So obviously the themes of the first house is your identity, but this is about self-mastery and also personal accountability. Saturn rules your career, your professional life, and anything in regards to your outer image. It's also connected to your friends, your groups, your allies, networks, and your goals. So as Saturn moves into the first house, it's very personal for you. I think you're facing some kind of reckoning of who you are versus who you want to be. So Saturn will be demanding, I think, that you kind of mature a little bit. Maybe it's saying, hey, if you're making any rash moves, you're going to get checked. Expect delays in personal goals, but a stronger you emerges in 2028. Now, in terms of what you want to expect, well, you got to slow down. There's going to be pressure to slow down and think things through. I anticipate this is going to help build resilience for you and also redefine your presence. Remember that confidence is earned, not necessarily assumed. Good luck. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Saturn entering into the sign of Aries. It'll be moving into your natal 12th house where things get a little spiritual. Saturn is associated with your 10th house of career and reputation and your 9th house of higher education, travel, and also your personal philosophies. So as it moves into your 12th house, which deals with the subconscious, isolation, and spiritual discipline, best advice I can give you thinking about when Saturn went through my 12th house, just to kind of speak on experience, learn to meditate. Meditation can become your best friend. Self-reflection, time away, even joining a private fitness studio or working on your health, spiritual or physical, can be very beneficial here for you. I think you need that downtime as you're kind of escaping some of the more intense things that are going on at work. Can also be a lot of working behind the scenes, things that you're working on that not everybody sees. I do think for you guys, this is about dealing with hidden fears, and self-sabotage may potentially surface. Obviously, Saturn is here to purge them. So retreats and therapy can be helpful, and sometimes you might feel a little lost before finding clarity. I love this for exploring foreign lands, maybe traveling by yourself or learning a new spiritual or religious practice. I really think for what's expected for you is that there is a quiet grind. You're learning to kind of find your pace and not overdoing it. And you're going to have to face inner chaos head on. But by the end, I think there is like an unshakable peace that replaced, all of the chaos and the old ghosts. And you have finally confronted and dealt with some of the things that you have been at war with yourself about. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's going on, Gemini? We're going to be watching Saturn come into the sign of Aries in your natal 11th house. Truth be told, air and fire are friends, so I think you're going to navigate this transit a little bit better than some of the other signs. Especially at some point throughout this transit, we will see Uranus moving into Gemini, which will sextile Saturn. So you have support from your 11th house of your friends, your allies. This is about your networks, the collective, as well as your goals. That's going to give you a little bit more stability for some of that spontaneous nature of Uranus in your sign. So it'll kind of keep you tame. I do think that for predictions, you are probably going to see your social circle change. I think you're going to become more consumed with keeping your circle small, that you're going to want 4 quarters instead of 100 pennies. You want good people around you, people who inspire you, people who are active, bold, and independent. And you're really going to be focusing on nurturing some of those relationships. Only the real ones will stay. That's what I think happens when you go through this transit. Sure, you could see some long-term goals hit a bit of a roadblock, but this is forcing you to redefine your vision, and community leadership definitely can be a theme here for you. For what's expected, I think that this is about building alliances with staying power, dreaming big, but also backing it with effort. Now, Saturn is connected to your 9th house of your beliefs, culture, higher education, travel, and learning, as well as your 8th house of transformation, psychological shifts, intimacy, and joint money. So it's possible that, there's traveling with friends, making connections and networking with people abroad. Maybe there is some kind of group therapy or focus on participating in groups that are about transformation, especially if you're going through a big career change or if you're needing to network to meet other entrepreneurs. This can be really beneficial for you. Good luck, Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Saturn going through your 10th house in the sign of Aries. All right, well, if you're a 0 to 3 degree of Cancer, Sun, Moon, or rising, you will be experiencing a Saturn square. You'll really be feeling it actually in June going into July as Jupiter comes into Cancer and it squares Saturn. And this will be the 3rd Jupiter-Saturn square that we have seen throughout the cycle in 2025 and 2024 and 2025. Let's talk pros. Saturn does well in the 10th house. All right, so this is 10 houses away from your ascendant sign. So Saturn is traditionally associated with the 10th house. So it's about responsibility, long-term goals, your professional life, as well as your reputation and authority. Saturn is traditionally associated with your 7th house of relationships. And this could be marital relationships, professional relationships. It could also mean that this is connected to your clients or, managers. And your 8th house of joint resources, transformation, psychological themes, and healing. So as Saturn goes into your 10th house, I do feel like one of the themes is going to be about professional growth. And obviously it's in the sign of Aries, so it's something new. So a lot of you guys are, launching a business, going into a new line of business. You are maybe thinking about shifting some of your professional goals. Maybe you're taking on a leadership role. Maybe you're even retiring. It really depends on your chart. But I do think for you guys, this is going to be all about that professional growth. And sometimes that growth is going to be at a slow and steady pace. So we can see promotions or, maybe even pivots that demand a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Authority figures will challenge you, and I feel like this is where your public image really toughens up and you get in the driver's seat of your own life. So you become more bold and assertive with clients, with partners. Maybe you're willing to embrace a new identity. Certainly Saturn going into the 10th house for some people could represent getting married or separating, and there is a new identity that is emerging. I would really just say for what's expected, you're going to have to earn your spot at the top, and patience and strategy is definitely going to outshine any shortcuts that you consider taking. Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You guys will be experiencing Saturn going into Aries in your natal 9th house. And if you're 0 to about 3 degrees of Leo, sun, moon, or rising, you'll have a Saturn trine. So that's going to support you. You're going to like it. I do feel like it can bring more structure to what you create and how you play and have fun. Obviously, the 9th house is a house sometimes where Saturn kind of struggles a little bit because this is a more Jupiterian house. But still, you know, themes revolving around beliefs, education, and expansion. Think graduating, right? Getting accepted to college. It can be about publishing a book, taking on a teaching role, working with a mentor, or traveling alone. These can be the themes that can come up here. Saturn is connected to your 6th house of health, habits, and routine, and your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. So as you see Saturn go through this house, you know, travel or study becomes important. And for some of you guys, you might feel like it's harder to travel. It requires you to travel with a partner or maybe even for work. And you could see that there could be some travel delays, some study delays can happen because Saturn is really testing you. And it can be also testing your philosophies as well. I think that with Saturn in the 9th house, it's pretty common to have like a teacher or a mentor appear, so I would watch for them. And you might find that any of your like dogmatic beliefs crumble and you're rebuilding into a much wiser worldview. And the legal matters can drag out a little bit as well. So can completing, you know, education, that can drag out. But I would say pursue the truth with discipline, and that growth comes through questioning and not preaching. You're going to learn a lot about health. You're going to learn a lot about better managing your schedule so you can travel. You're also going to be learning a lot about relationships, whether that's relationships with friends, teachers, or the relationship to yourself. A lot of you guys are going to conquer your fears of flying or traveling alone, and some of you guys may be having a long distance relationship or getting married. Hope that's helpful for you, Leo. We're going to see for Virgo and Virgo rising, Saturn will be entering into Aries in your natal 8th house. And this is a house that's all about transformation, shared resources, intimacy, taxes, endings and beginnings, and healing trauma. So something I always like to remind my Virgos and Virgo risings is, yes, you don't have a lot in common, obviously, with, you know, with Saturn or with Aries in this particular place. But Aries is the self. So it doesn't really matter what house you're looking at. It's how you personally interact with that house. So even though it's other people's money or debt or, you know, intimacy issues, this is about psychological changes within the self, okay? So I do think that, you know, I predict, yes, you could be dealing with debt. You could be dealing with lending or borrowing. You could be trying to pay debt off. There could be tax matters that can come up or inheritance matters. And obviously partnerships will face scrutiny. Saturn demands trust and transparency here. So deep changes definitely feel heavy, but it's also very liberating. So for what's expected for you, it's about facing your fears of loss or betrayal, and power comes from letting go and rebuilding smarter. Now, Saturn is associated with your 5th house of children, creativity, dating, self-expression, as well as personal pleasure, and your 6th house of health and routine and work and habits. So you might feel like there's karmic debts that you're having to pay off, you know, that has to deal with your children, or it has to do with your love life. It may also mean that you're having to take out some debt to launch a business, to pay for something. Obviously, the 6th house also deals with debt and loans as well. So there can be this theme of you feeling like, okay, I need to come up with a system where I'm becoming more responsible for paying stuff off. Therapy, hypnotherapy, trauma healing, and all of that stuff is also kind of covered under the 8th house. So inner child issues, issues with your children, or issues in your love life can also be resolved in this house as well. When planets go through the 8th house, they're going to hell and back. So there is this sense of being reborn by the time you get to the end of it. So don't be afraid to kind of deal with some of those shadow monsters. I think that facing them head on can be very liberating. And obviously themes revolving around joint income that you have with another person, you know, what other people give you, what you give them, are going to be covered under this transit as well. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Saturn going into Aries, your opposite sign, in your natal 7th house. This is going to be really significant for my Libra and Libra risings that are about 0 to 3 degrees. So if you have any placements there, you'll be under a Saturn opposition and you will be feeling a Jupiter square. So that's going to be, we'll get into that as we get closer. But wow, Saturn going into the 7th house. What can I say about that? Remember that Saturn is exalted in Libra. Okay, so actually Saturn, it can fare well in the 7th house. Obviously, it's going to come with its tests and its challenges as it opposes you. But watch for older people who will come and support you. It could be an older partner, an older spouse. It could be an older relative, a grandparent. It can also be like a therapist, somebody who's going to look out for you and like counsel you in some way. Now, the 7th house is relationships, partnerships, balance, but it's also a boxing ring. So this is where we kind of clear things out in the open. Saturn is associated with your 4th house of home and family and the past, property and real estate, as well as the 5th house of children, romance, creativity, and self-expression. So you've got Saturn now leaving the 6th house. It's going into the 7th, the top half of the horizon. So now it's more public. Okay, so people are going to be seeing things more about you publicly. What do I predict? Well, it's going to be a mixed bag. Commitments get serious, right? So if you're single, you can meet a very significant relationship through this process. It can be a slow burn. But also if you're in a relationship, a business partnership, or a marriage, if it's been on the rocks or if there's been some problems, weak ties are going to falter while strong ones are going to solidify. So business or romantic deals require renegotiation. I do think that loneliness will test your sense of independence. And for what's expected, you're defining boundaries in relationships over the next couple of years. Partnerships will thrive on mutual accountability. Topics like falling in love, committing, getting married, creative partnerships, as well as major changes on the home front and addressing or airing out old family dynamics are definitely going to be on the horizon for you, Libra. Good luck. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Saturn transiting in the sign of Aries, moving through your natal 6th house. Well, one thing I can tell you about this is the 6th house does well with malefics. So if you got Saturn and Neptune in this house, it's not necessarily a bad thing. This is just about kind of getting a firm grip on the reality of health, habits, work, and routine. I will tell you that, my thoughts on this are that just coming out of Saturn and Neptune in my 6th house, daily grind intensifies. There is this sense of like overworking, over-sacrificing, giving a lot, and that can really wear on your health. Burnout is a real thing. You guys are going to find this. And if you don't pace yourself and make time for fitness or make time for creative stuff or your children or even dating, you might feel like it's all work and no play. And, health issues will nag you if you don't improve your habits under this transit. Jobs demand more structure. There's going to be more meetings. There's going to be more communication. There's going to be more scheduling and things that's going to be necessary. Aries deals with the self, and it's also about the face, the eyes, the nose, the forehead. So think of like combating inflammation, dealing with overthinking, dealing with impulsiveness. Quitting habits like drinking, can also be helpful during this transit. And mindfulness practices like meditation with Neptune being there can help. Now, the 6th house is also your office space, your coworkers, your pets. So there's more responsibility for some of these things. And maybe you feel like you need to get your office in order. Saturn rules your 4th house of home and family. It's also connected to your roots, the past and property, as well as the 3rd house of communication, contracts, traveling, siblings, and short distance trips. So I can just tell you that there is a lot of being like, I need to get my house in order, or I need to be working out from home, or now I need to have an office space. And possibly communicating more. Maybe you're going to be communicating what's going on with your schedule. Maybe you're rearranging your work schedule so you feel like you have more time to focus on your health as well as your fitness. Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Saturn transiting through the sign of Aries in your natal 5th house. Truth be told, this is not necessarily a challenging transit for you guys because it's going to be trining your sun, moon, and rising. If you're the first 3 degrees or so of Sagittarius, the Saturn trine can bring structure. It can be very helpful. Saturn going through the 5th house. This is, well, for some people, this is where creativity, romance, and self-expression get serious. Okay, that's what this is about. Obviously, the themes are, taking what you love seriously. It's It's possible that hobbies turn into work or romance really faces reality checks. There can be creative blocks that you push through and you refine your craft. You might commit more seriously to investing. You might commit more seriously also to children, having children, or some kind of artistic expression. Now, the Saturn connection is to your second house of money, values, and resources, what you have and what you want, as well as the third house, which is about communication, short distance trips, and writing. So I could see some of you guys going, well, I want to start a podcast. I want to start blogging. I want to create a website. I want to create a YouTube channel, and I want to create something new. And you want to make money from it, but it's about timing and persistence and patience. And I can just tell you, having gone through the Saturn transit in the 5th house recently, a couple of years ago, it was like everything I set out to do that was fun became work, right? And I'm not complaining. I think it was actually a good thing, but it was like, hey, I just want to do this. It'll be fun. And then it became this monotonous grind. A lot of my YouTube channel is a result of Saturn going through my 5th house. Literally, when the pandemic hit and Saturn went into Aquarius, I was like, well, I've got nothing else better to do. I might as well, like put some effort, maybe do this for fun. And now several years later, it's materialized as, filming 4 videos a week, creating webinars, building my practice out. And it was really good for me in retrospect. And I really learned a lot about what I loved and to dedicate more time to that. For you guys, I think that what I would focus on is joy and happiness and redefining that and doing it in a new way. Joy requires effort and build lasting passion, not fleeting thrills. That's what you want to do during this particular Saturn transit. This is also about getting active and having fun. So sports and other things you could do on your own, Aries, would be really wonderful for you, as well as learning anything artistic or creative that requires structure. Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Saturn going through Aries in your natal 4th house. If you have anything Capricorn, Sun, Moon, rising, 0 to 3 degrees, you're under a Saturn square. You're also going to be feeling a Jupiter opposition. So it's making Saturn the focal point of this particular transit in the summer of 2025. Saturn's your chart ruler, so wherever Saturn goes is where you follow. So Saturn moving through the 4th house, truth be told, is sometimes a bit tricky. It's a bit challenging when it comes to home, family, roots, property, and the past. Now, Aries is something new, okay? So with Saturn and Neptune being in this sign, a lot of you guys are feeling, the feedback that I'm getting is, I'm lost, I'm confused, where is home? You feel like maybe your family structure is dissolving. Maybe you don't know where you're going to be moving. Some people have also been dealing with homelessness. So it's a bit complex when you throw Neptune into it. But what this is trying to do is it's trying to get you to like literally throw the anchor overboard and go, okay, where do I want to be? And naturally, when Saturn is at the bottom of the chart here, it's looking up to the MC. So there is this feeling of being like, where is my life going? Where are my relationships going? Where's my career going? And don't get sucked into that, because that can definitely kind of lead you into a bit of like a death spiral. Saturn in the 4th is about you taking some kind of action, okay, physically or financially, or investing in something that will be yours. First home, first apartment, right? First time living in a new city, moving to a new country, that kind of stuff is going to happen with Saturn here. For some of you, it's about taking care of a parent or an elderly relative, managing a property, renovating a house. This could also mean that you're taking on some of these projects on your own. Saturn going into the 4th always brings you back home in some way, so it's not unusual to go home and be with family. And Saturn, obviously, I think in this sign is really saying you have to do something completely brand new. So watch for moves, family duties, which can feel heavy. Yes, Saturn tests your foundation, but emotional walls start to crack under this transit and you're facing some kind of vulnerability. If you strengthen your base, security is going to actually come. And a lot of it's going to be coming from dealing with the past. And for some of you guys, it's breaking generational curses. Good luck. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be experiencing Saturn going into the sign of Aries in your natal 3rd house. This is one of your rulers, so this is an important transit for you. And boy, oh boy, with the sextiles to Pluto, are you feeling supported in the process of change? Now, the 3rd house is communication, it's communication, learning, and connections. It's also about siblings. It can be about contracts, cars, moving, and learning. So Saturn in this particular house, I feel like is about bringing a sobering mind into the equation. And, you know, you're going to find that words carry weight, and any missteps in your words or your planning can be costly. Now, I think this is about learning curves, maybe feeling a little steep, you know, siblings or neighbors demanding a little bit more patience, and tech or travel issues can kind of come up. Sometimes I see cars have problems with this transit. Obviously, be careful also when you're driving. That's important. And Saturn is connected to your first house of self. So this is about what you think, what you write, what you say. And it's also directly connected to the 12th house of the subconscious and hidden fears. So there can be a tendency of speaking fears into reality. And so you got to kind of catch yourself and notice like where there's this fear or phobia coming up, and not feeding into that, not speaking it into reality. But Saturn here can definitely help you take on learning a new subject. It can be great for short distance trips, planning a move, hashing out issues maybe that you're having with siblings, and it could be great for starting a new like media channel. So blogs, podcasts, anything connected to writing or speaking can definitely be very fruitful under this transit. Just speak with purpose. That's what I would recommend with this transit. Speak with purpose, and clarity is going to be really emerging from slowing your roll. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces risings. My Pisces, you guys are just about done. You're graduating this year. Saturn is leaving your sign. Hooray. It's going to be moving into your second house of Aries. So this is a brand new territory for Saturn in your chart. Still pretty significant because Saturn will be kind of moving alongside Neptune, one of your rulers. So in 2025 and 2026, this still kind of has you in the equation, right? It's going to conjunct Neptune, where you're going to get serious and get real about your self-values, your worth, your money, your spending habits. And Saturn will then dip back with Neptune into your sign. So there's a lot of like, can I build this? Is this real? Am I going to be able to afford this? Type of vibes. Second house is all about change in your pocket, what's in your wallet, what's in your bank account, physical possessions, and this is about who you are. So it's very much tied to your self-esteem in Aries. It is possible and likely, it's very unusual for me to see a Saturn transit in the second house that doesn't materialize in kind of like tightening the purse strings, right? There is a sense of creating a budget or having less money or learning to do with less. And I would just say practice minimalism, go and read Marie Kondo, you know, learn how to get rid of things, not hold on to things, be more focused on you and what you can do without all the trappings. Obviously, Saturn will curb spending. It can force some people to have budgets, and self-esteem ties, you know, to effort. There will be no handouts with this transit, and you will see that income shifts are going to demand grit. Now, Saturn is connected to your 12th house of fears, isolation, self-undoing. So we might be noticing where we're like spending because we're stressed out, or there's more fears revolving around the future of resources and money. But we can be also meditating on what we're manifesting and what we're hoping to kind of produce or achieve. Saturn's also connected to your 11th house of goals, okay? So I think that this is about you getting serious about your financial goals, what you need, and it's a new kind of beginning when it comes to your finances. So the focus here, I think, is to build steady wealth. Value yourself through action, not fantasy. And I would say this to all of the signs, that Saturn does not necessarily deny, unless it's not for you, right? Saturn is karmic, so sometimes we're dealing with some karmic matters, but Saturn generally does not deny, he delays. So if something or someone is meant for you, it will come. So if you build it, the money will come. If you believe in yourself, the resources will come. The financial stability will provide, okay? So there you guys have it. That is my early sneak peek on Saturn moving into the sign of Aries. Obviously, this is like a cosmic crucible where courage is meeting consequence. And obviously it's tough, but it's transformative. And I think with Neptune in tow, it's a rare chance to build something truly legendary. So my question for you is, how will you step up to this challenge, right? What are you planning to do? Leave me some comments in the comment section below. Let me know, how are you making your dreams a reality, and where is Saturn transiting in your natal horoscope? Remember, the stars are watching, so let's make it count. You want to see more about me and my work? Make sure you click the bell button below and subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and consider sharing it with other people. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, so you can follow along as we get closer to this transit. You can also check out more about me and my work at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I teach astrology, so if you'd like to learn, I would love to be your astro teacher. We have several different levels and study at your own pace courses. I also have personal one-on-one sessions, astrology calendars, tarot tote bags, zodiac mugs, and much, much more. So check out all of my work on my website. I will be back with you guys soon, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and you guys take care.